Hello, welcome to World Book Day, discovering the world through books. My name is Ayopeju Falekulo from Adlo Montessori Training Center. I'm really excited to be here today with you to talk about the World Book Day. When I was thinking about preparing this talk, I started thinking about books I had read as a child. Which books do you remember reading as a child? How do the memories you have of reading these books make you feel? When I started thinking about these books, I started getting really excited. And I even thought to myself, I need to go and get some of the ones that I don't have copies right now. I'm going to go and get copies of them and read them again. I was really excited. I remember The African Child, The Drummer Boy, Eze Goes to School, The Gods Are Not to Blame, The Lion and the Jewel, Cry My Beloved Country, Things Fall Apart, Jaguanana, The Trials of Brother Jero, and so many other ones. Not to talk about all those ones in the African series. I so loved those novels. And they all came from being able to read. The truth of the whole matter is all these books were all set in different parts of the country, and I purposely chose the books that I read that had African settings. I've read many books and I had many favorite ones. Some are classics from the Western world, but I purposely chose these ones. Why? Because more and more we're beginning to forget our roots, and our roots are important. When a child is born, the child is interested in finding out about their environment. And so we must make sure that as much as we help our children know about the global world, because we're living in a global village, let's not forget our roots. Start from our roots. That's why I started here. Reading is one of the best skills a child can acquire. And we must do our very best to help our children develop this skill. It is not an easy skill to develop. It's not an easy skill to have. In actual fact, in Nigeria, we have over 9 million adolescents who cannot read at all. We do not want our children to be part of that number. So we must do everything possible to make sure that they acquire the skill. The skill of reading is much more than being able to decode what is written on the page. The child needs to get fluency. The child needs to be able to enjoy reading. Why? Why is it important for our children to read? We read to help us relax. You see, I'm not starting from the academic side of things. I prefer to start from the other side because we take the academic side of things too seriously. And when we do, the joy of reading is lost. Our children now look at reading as something that they have to do and must do. And because you make it such a big deal, it now becomes something that is not important for them. I loved reading. At least that was one thing that my parents were very happy about. I was a reader. I loved books. They helped me relax. Even when my parents had said something to me that upset me, I had cried. In order to take my mind away from whatever it is that is disturbing me, I'll go and carry a book and I'll read it. It helps you to relax. It stimulates the mind. Reading grows our knowledge base. When you read, you gain knowledge. When you read, you find out about different things about the world that you didn't know exist. You find out about different places. Maybe the place is set in Hausa land and you've never been to Hausa land before, or it's set in Kenya, or it's set in South Africa. I remember all those African series books that I used to read. Even though I had not been to those places, it felt like I had been there. So when I grew up and went to Ghana, for example, and went to Kenya, I could relate very quickly, very easily, because I had read books about them. The same thing with traveling to the Western world. Your knowledge base is expanded when you read. That's what we want for our children, but it's going to take them actually reading to be able to get them to that point. Reading enables us to learn how to write better, and it also improves our analytical skills. And this is very important. We talk about children not writing, and I have a big thing about always giving children what to write. We tell them copy, copy, copy. No, let them write themselves. But how are they going to write when they don't read? Children need to read. And when they read, the mind is enabled to think. Critical analysis of what is going on. They are building on skills. So if they're not reading, there's a lot that should be going on that is not going on. Reading helps to open up the world to us, and it builds the vocabulary base. Somebody who is going to write needs vocabulary. Somebody who is going to communicate with other people, whether they're working in an office, whether they're on the global stage, they need vocabulary. If they're not reading, where are they going to get it from? Are they going to go and cram everything? Some of the words I use today, I use them because I read vastly. And one thing about me, I don't even use big words. I prefer to speak so that people understand, but I know how to say them so that people will get the point that I'm trying to make. These are skills that our children need. They need to learn to read. Reading needs to be a constant in their life. So what should you as a parent do to help your child learn how to read? It's important to read daily with your child. I know you've heard that before, but do you do it? Reading daily. Tell them stories. Read to them. Tell them the story again. Ask them to tell you the story again. One thing about children we need to know is that children love repetition. We are the ones that hate repetition. But for our children, they love repetition, so they're not going to get sick and tired of this story. This one story that you keep reading to them, then you tell them the same story, and then you ask them to tell you that story. They are not going to be bored, depending on how old they are, obviously. Your children 0 to 4, 0 to 5, they're not going to complain about the repetition. So please do this with them. And even when they're older than that, and even when they can read, it's still good to read to your children. Very, very good practice. It's also important as a parent to be a great example. We're celebrating the World Book Day. We need to read as well. You need to read too. Don't be telling your child, read every day, and then they said that we should read every day. Oh yeah, come, let us do our reading for today. No. Do you read? Your child will read more when they see you reading. My dad, at least his files, he was always reading newspapers. So obviously, when he is reading, I will go and carry my own book and read. Another thing we need to do is buy books. Let's make sure that there are books. Books at home. Books in the school. Let's help out. Buy books. Age-appropriate books, please. Books that speak to the child, not books that we have not looked through, because today there are so many books that are being handed around as children books that are disgraceful. They're not children books. Please do not put anything in the hands of a child that you have not looked through and read yourself. Read them, but buy books. There's so many great books out there that you could read and that your children can get to read. Let's be intentional about our children discovering the world through books. Buy books. Be intentional about it. If you plan, it will happen. So, let's count the cost, because it will cost. There is nothing good that won't cost. Our children discovering the world through books can only happen if there are books. You need books at home. The school needs books. We all want what is best for our children, right? We want them to have a better education than we had. Then we need to spend the money. And it doesn't need to be that much. There are books that are being sold for 300, 400 naira. Even if you plan that you are going to spend 1,000 naira a month on books, within 5 years, do you know how many books you are going to have in your library at home? Please, let's plan. Let's do our best. We pay the price and get our children reading step by step. The solution providers and critical thinkers for our country will emerge, so that we will have a better tomorrow, a better Nigeria. And that is what we want for the country. So, parents, this is Ayokweju Falekulo saying, thanks for having me. Have a wonderful celebration. Bye.